If you've been following my reporting on Vancouver real estate and the issues surrounding the explosion in prices the past year to 18 months, then you will know one of the major obstacles and problems for BC is the Quebec Investor Immigrant Program. I was surprised to hear recently that Premier Christy Clark did raise this issue with Quebec Premier Philippe Couillard in hopes of fixing some of the problems. But rather than listen to me wax poetic about the issue, I thought I would talk with immigration lawyer Richard Kurland about this program, its effects on BC, and what might be done to deal with it.
The Quebec program offers individuals with a net worth of $1.6 million obtained through licit business activities to invest $800,000 with quote-unquote a dealer. What it means practically is the $800,000 goes into investment. It's guaranteed by a promissory note written by the government, so the guy gets his money back. The money actually creates jobs and boosts the Quebec economy. Does the immigrant actually put down $800K? Well, no. Financing is available because the $800K is guaranteed by a promissory note from government. So that serves as collateral for a loan of about $125,000. At the end of the day, the investor ponies up around $125,000 cash, and that becomes magnified by the financial institution to hit the $800K mark. The investor gets a visa, and Quebec somehow gets its money.
Right, but the big issue, I guess, for people here in British Columbia is that these people aren't actually staying in Quebec, or maybe even, I've heard stories that they aren't even setting foot in Quebec at all. So what is the solution? Because we've heard Christy Clark and Philippe Couillard had a conversation about it. How do you fix that problem without restricting someone's mobility rights, for instance?
Exactly. It's a fair balance. On the one hand, you have people gaining Canadian permanent residence on the strength of a promise to live in the province of Quebec. But data runs conclusively demonstrate that literally over 95% of people are not living in the province of Quebec. A large number are right here in British Columbia, the trampoline effect. How to fix it without ruffling feathers? Well, I may have a way. All you have to do is hold onto the $800K invested until that immigrant investor shows 2 years of income tax returns paid in the province of Quebec. If the investor immigrant fails to provide within a reasonable time, say 3 years, 5 years, a minimum of 2 Quebec income tax returns, that $800K should be forfeit. That's how you fix it. No new laws other than a slight modification to hold on to the money. That can be done by regulation. And no new employees for enforcement. The message will go out loud and clear. If you do intend to trampoline, it's an $800,000 bounce.
Great. Tell us a little bit about your idea that maybe the BC government should be setting up their own investor immigrant program to at least capitalize on some of that wealth that's been coming from China, for instance.
Well, for reasons I've never fully understood. Over 20 years, British Columbia has been leaving literally $1 billion cash on the table. There is nothing preventing British Columbia from mirroring the Quebec Immigrant Investor Program. It's not about what the law is today. It's about what the law should be. And if the law does not allow BC to do what Quebec is already doing, change the law. It would mean this. Right now, the trampoline takes 1,000 millionaires from Quebec to British Columbia. Prior to the closure of the federal Immigrant Investor Program, you had another 1,000 coming to British Columbia. So what's the deal? BC can have at least 1,000, possibly 2,000 candidates. If you do what other nations are doing, in other words, charge cash, no paybacks, BC can make a fortune every year. And I've calculated on the back of a napkin, we're looking at, if it's $1 million cash, no paybacks, limited to 300, even 500 families a year. when the demand exceeds 1,000, you're looking very quickly at a very large demand faced with a very short supply of BC visas. You can raise the price. You can increase the number of those visas. So British Columbia every year can make the equivalent of what it's made off the property tax stuff, land, the transfer tax. But moving forward every year, that's more than enough to cure British Columbia homelessness. It's enough to build accommodation for every homeless person in this province. It's enough to create rapid transit infrastructure for the Lower Mainland. But BC has no political will to create a BC Immigrant Investor Program.
What I found most interesting was that I had no idea BC could set up their own program. I had always figured the Quebec program was based on their special status in Confederation and allowing them to handle their own immigration policy. So what do you think? Do you believe BC should set up its own program and rake in extra cash as Richard suggests? Or are you skeptical, like I am, that this would simply go into general revenue and result in just more government spending and do nothing to make Vancouver more affordable? Whilst a big issue, the QIIP is not solely to blame. It contributes to the problem, there is no doubt. But when we saw the end of a very similar federal investor program, it did little to stabilize real estate prices. For TheRebel.media, I'm Christopher Wilson.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of The Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.